from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I wanted to talk a little again about what to do when the power goes out and just some places where you might want to start, because I know some people are kind of new to thinking about, well, what am I going to do during power outages? And I can't afford a whole lot. I don't know if I want to invest in a big solar setup or something like that. And so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of approach this topic again, because there are certain things and some people that really need to have some kind of power to run equipment that they may need for their health. So I'm going to touch on a few things, but mostly focusing on being able to have some kind of power backup to run whatever it is you really need to run. And also, so you understand where we're coming from, this is a very important topic to us, because living in Rain Country, which is the wettest area on the wettest side of Washington State, we're just right close to a rainforest. We get a lot of dark, cloudy, wet, rainy days and a lot of high winds in the wintertime that, because of the saturated grounds, cause the trees to more easily be blown over. We have power outages quite frequently here. In fact, we just had 2 back-to-back ones. I mean, we had one, it was out for about 12 hours, and then about 3 or 4 hours later, it went out again for about another 12 hours. And because we live very remotely, that is another reason why during a power outage that it can take that long, sometimes a full 24 hours for our power to get restored. So that is why anyone living here is silly if they don't at least have some kind of emergency lighting to be able to see by, because winter times can be rough if you don't have a backup power supply. But the first thing I want to talk about is just touching on a few things that you can do before you even get into buying anything that can help give you power during a power outage. And that would be just looking at ways that you can better your situation. So simple things that don't cost any money, such as let's say you get orders like Misfits Market or other places where you're ordering cold or frozen items that come with ice packs in them. Save those ice packs, fill your freezers full of those ice packs, as full as you can get them, because that's going to help in several ways. That's going to fill up your freezers so that if your power goes out and you don't have anything to run them, to keep them cold, then those ice packs will not only fill up that space, because the less airspace you have in your freezers, the longer the stuff in there is going to stay cold, but then also give you ice packs that you can put into your fridge that will keep those items cold, like especially if you have milk in there. In fact, I always have ice packs like that because I do Misfits Market orders. And so I save them up, and then I give them to a family member who has no way to keep her refrigerator running during these long power outages. And so she keeps as many as she can in her freezer, and then puts some of them in her fridge when the power goes out. And if she needs more, I give her more. And they're already frozen because I'll keep them frozen. And then the other thing is covering your freezers and fridge. Don't open them. Open them as little as possible. Keep them covered. Like this is where I like chest freezers, because you can throw 2 or 3 blankets over the top of them to help insulate them better, to keep them cold for a longer period of time. So that's, just some ideas there that really don't have to cost any money at all. And then there's more simple things that you can look into, like looking at ways that you can either start obtaining smaller items that don't require power to run, such as like a hand mixer. I have like an egg beater. It's the OXO brand that I use for a lot of times. That's all I use for like making whipped cream or something like that. I have also a hand-operated crank food processor if I want to chop things really small. A lot of you know this is definitely a more expensive item, but it's not as expensive as putting in a whole solar system, and that is my treadle machine. I bought it brand new. Yes, they make them brand new. I have some videos out on that. I'll link to probably the most recent one down below. Hand crank coffee grinders, grain mills. The grain mill's an expensive one, especially the one we have, because it's built like a tank. It's built here in Washington State, and it's gone up in price by about $300 since I bought it. So it's a lot more expensive since I got mine. But we can run it off both power and hand crank. And I have a couple of different hand crank coffee grinders. And that's just a few ideas there. They even make hand crank blenders for camping. And so these might be some things you might want to look at if you've got an extended power outage, and these might be things you might need to do. And coming back to the sewing, also there are things that you can do by hand that you don't have to go buy special equipment for. So learning how to sew by hand doesn't require any power. It's just a matter of practice. So I did do a video, by the way, on just some 3 basic hand stitches that you can learn, because I've been in situations where my sewing machine broke down. I had a lot of costumes to sew, and I was stuck sewing a lot of costumes by hand. So I've done a lot of that. And for those of you who are new, that was back when I used to teach ballet, and mostly ballet. We did some other types of dance too, but it was mostly ballet, and we put on productions every year, and I made most of the costumes for our productions. And then of course there's different types of light sources that can be fairly inexpensive, and I say go for different types. Don't just stick with LED, don't just stick with open flame type. Now I love my fuel lanterns. I use clean heat, and I always use those, and I do still use open flame candles in certain places, but I also really like having my different LED lanterns and candles that I'll use in other places where having an open flame is not a good idea. Plus, they're really easy just to turn on real quick, especially the ones I have with the remote, like the little votives on my wall. Now, I love having that remote because I just click a button and they all come on, and I don't have to take each one out and light it. So things like that don't have to cost a lot of money. I'll link actually to my last video I did on some emergency light sources. It's fairly recent, and in that I'll have links to some of these different things that I've purchased and use frequently. Then next, moving on to cook sources, I do have a video on that too. Cooking and baking, things that you can use during a power outage. This is another good place to start as well before you look into trying to invest into some kind of generator or whatever. So I'll link to my last video I did on that. And we have several different ways that we can cook and bake, mostly using our wood stove that we've had forever. But we have other ways as well that we can use as backups, especially if the power outage is in the summer. Maybe we're not getting a whole lot of solar collection, then we don't have our wood stove running. So you might want to check that video out. So that will be in the description box with any other videos I'll be linking to. So don't forget to click on more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen to be able to open the description box and find all those links. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is that though we do have solar power, we started putting that, was it 2013, I think, 2013-ish, we started kind of building our own solar setup a little at a time. We started with 4 big solar panels and a battery bank, and then we built on it, improved it over the years. But even then, even though right now our solar setup is the best it's ever been, we still have in the middle of winter really dark days, especially because of where we live, where solar power is on the minimum. So just like with these last 2 power outages, we don't use the solar power much during this time of year. We, in fact, pretty much have most things disconnected from it so that when the power goes out, we have at least a little bit of reserve battery power, because we're not collecting enough during the day to get the batteries fully charged, but we can have enough to run some simple things like our internet, the freezers and fridge if we have to, but we'll still start up our gas generator that we've had for, I don't know, it's been a very long time, because we initially bought it when we had our camp trailer and we were we were going to all these different events, and it was nice having that generator to run during the summer. The air conditioner, because we tend to go to really hot places, but that generator was also very nice for power outages, and it still works great. It is the Honda 3000, and it's a very, very quiet generator. Unlike a lot of the ones a lot of other people have around here, those things are loud. Ours is very quiet. We keep it in the shop. You can barely hear it running from the house if everything is quiet. You can just barely hear it running. I highly recommend that one if you're going to go for a gas generator. I think they make some that are similar, the Honda, that might be more powerful. But I noticed it, I saw it on Amazon. I see they still make that one. However, if there can be drawbacks to having fuel run generators like that. And they have so much new stuff now that might be a better suit to you. I can't speak on these things as one who's ever used them because we simply don't need them. We have actually several other types of generators. We have one that runs on diesel. We have a couple more that run on gas. We keep a couple of them out at our other piece of property, and we have a couple of them here. A lot of these we've collected secondhand or through barter. So the only one that we've bought brand new was the one we bought many years ago, the Honda. So there's no need for us to look into something like a Outages or a Bluetti or a Jackery. But if I had everything to do all over again, if I was going to start all over, I would be looking at having one of those along with our gas generator because they're both going to have their benefits. So obviously with a gas or diesel run generator, you're going to have the carbon monoxide. You're going to want to keep it in a place that you're not going to be going into or where it can stay very, very well ventilated. So ours is always in the shop. We run power cords from out there into the house. And that's how we connect our freezers, fridge, and other such necessary things to make sure nothing in there is going to thaw out. And then anything else we might need to run. So there's that. And then the fact that you're going to have to store up, like we keep a lot of fuel stored up. We've done videos on fuel storage. In fact, I'll link to the most recent one. I don't know how old it is. It's probably a few years old in the description box down below because we do store diesel and we store regular gasoline. And so we always keep a lot on hand and we rotate it. And so it's really not an issue for us as far as that, but some people may not have the kind of good places for storing that much fuel or maybe any fuel for that matter. So going with something like one of these other ones that operate off of, they're charged by the AC in your home or by solar power. You can do both. So I think that's great because you have two different ways you can charge it. So if it's charged up while you've got power, then that way when the power goes out, it's already charged. If you then add solar panels to them, you can have a way to keep them charged. And they're also going to be far more quiet than a fuel run generator. And so I do have a friend that she has a Jackery. She started with that. She bought a small one. She saved up and bought a small one. And then I think she bought another brand. I'm not sure what the other brand was. I think it was the Bluetti, but she has two different ones. So she can have one to run this equipment here and the second one to run that equipment there, washing machines, but they do come in various different sizes. Now, because I don't have any experience with any of these or their brands or can tell you what brand is going to be best, I highly recommend you look into it for yourself. I know there's other channels out there that are, that have all these different brands, like Zach over at An American Homestead. He has the Outages. I would say go watch his videos on that. I'll link to his channel in the description box. I think he has some standalone videos on it. I've never watched those because I don't need something like that, but I've seen and heard him mention it in some of the other videos that he does. And so I believe he might have an affiliate link that can also save you. Usually when content creators, when we have affiliate links, usually you can save a percentage on that product. So that's why I recommend, if you're going to look into it for yourself, I'd say look into all of them and compare them. You can find, I know the Jackery for sure on Amazon, because I was looking to compare prices between that and like a gas generator, and it just depends on how big of one you're going to get. They're going to be very comparable in price, the cost. So then it's a matter of deciding which style is going to be best for you. But if you can't afford it and have the ability to do it, I would recommend getting one of each. You know, maybe starting with one small one, then of one type, and then getting another one of another type. You can always build on it from there, like my friend has been doing that lives locally, getting, starting off with 2 smaller ones. Just know that the bigger the generator, the more it's going to be able to handle at once. So certain larger equipment, things that pull a lot of power at once, some of your smaller generators, it doesn't matter if it's a gas or diesel or a solar or battery run generator, it's still gonna, if it's too small, there's gonna be certain things it just can't handle. Our 3000, Honda 3000 can handle quite a bit. I don't think we've ever really found anything it can't handle that we need to run. So when we would use it on vacations to run the air conditioner, it wasn't a problem, but it seems like we couldn't do the air conditioner and, let's say, run the coffee pot, because we had an electric coffee pot then. Seems like we couldn't do both at the same time, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but that wasn't such a big deal. But anyway, those are the kind of things you're going to want to look into. And I would say that would be a far better place to start than to try to jump into doing something huge, like getting your whole place set up with solar power. Now, I don't regret what we've done, but I probably would have started off a little differently with the things that are now available to us these days. So, and I was going to add another little point on the solar / battery operated generators, is that, or when I say battery operated, I mean they're charged by using your AC when you have it. So the other thing about those being quiet that can be an important tip is you may be in a place where you don't want everyone to know that you've got backup power running. And a lot of generators out there, unlike ours, a lot of them can be really, really noisy, the gas and diesel run ones, and people can hear it maybe even miles away, depending on where you're at. So when the power goes out here, we hear generators firing up all over the neighborhood. And also one more thing, I keep forgetting, I wrote notes down, but I'm not looking at them, is one of the cons you might have for having one of those AC charging generators is that if you don't have solar power, once you've used all that up that's in there, you won't have a way to recharge it. So getting some solar panels would be ideal in that case. So you have another way to charge it, assuming that you're getting sunlight at all. I hope you enjoyed this video. It gave you a few ideas of places to start if you're looking at having some backup power, especially if you have some really important necessary things you need to keep running in the event of extended power outages. And don't forget to check out the links I'll be putting in the description box down below, including Zach's channel and American Homestead. And please share your thoughts or ideas down below, especially if you have any of this kind of equipment, and share what you have, what you like, do not like about it in comments down below, so people can get some ideas from you too, especially since I don't have experience with some of these things. Just throwing ideas out there. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.